Welcome everyone to a casted game for Age of Empires 4, and today spawning in the southwest corner of the map, playing in blue, we've got Divine DFP playing as the English, and his opponent in the northeast playing in red, we've got Corvinus 1 playing as the Japanese. Welcome everyone to Golden Pip. That's the map for today, and two civilizations which have become very popular in Age of Empires 4, especially since the new DLC, of course, with the Japanese being one of two really popular civilizations. Obviously the Japanese, the Byzantines. Then you have the other variant civilizations going up against the English today on a fine map, Golden Pit. Wonder how this one's going to turn out. Now, the English can be obviously quite campy at times, but the map isn't the most closed one in the world. So Divine might try something different from what he's used to seeing. We do see him often open up with multiple town centres and boom away into man-at-arms spam, but the Japanese could do pretty well against. We shall see what they have up their sleeves. Maybe they could opt for a mixture of samurai and Onimusha. That could be an option. Going heavily on stone, so possibly opting for a second town centre behind this, which is quite commonly done as the Japanese, and it can be quite a strong play. Getting that eco online and up and running, and then getting that massive military, the sort of 10-11 minute mark. They can really start to pack a punch with a massive infantry. We shall see what he opts to do. 3 villagers on gold here for DFP, so looking to get that feudalage pretty soon. Opting for an early wheelbarrow, which is commonly done now as English. Plenty of sheep coming in for Corvinus. Dropping it off. Now, the one thing that's really great for the Japanese, just like it is for the English, is the issue of farming. So we're going to have a farming fiesta today. The Japanese obviously going with the Cura storehouse most commonly. We'll be surprised to see anything different today. Getting free farms, you can never really argue with that. The English, of course, getting cheaper farms, but obviously both players probably going to be relying on sheep quite heavily for now, because plenty of sheep coming in for Divine DFP. Sooner or later, we get into that feudalage. Now, things have been a bit slow recently for the Age of Empires 4 content on my side of things. I've been casting a lot of Stormgate. And it just reminds me how slow things can get going in Age of Empires 4 at the beginning. We are 2.5 minutes in and nowhere near that feudalage just yet. Well, I guess the English could be pretty soon. But interesting things to think about on this map in particular, with the gold in the middle, with only 1 or 2 gold spots close to home. It does mean that both players eventually will need to venture out into the mid-map and gather the valuable gold inside and get that secured up. It should be good for the next 10-15 minutes or so with plenty of gold at home. Bear in mind, of course, in the late game, enclosures is a thing for the English. Can get that gold trickling in for every farm. That could be something important that allows Divine to just give up a bit of map control in the mid-game and then look to try and claw it back in the mid to late game if it gets that far. Council Hall going to be chosen as the landmark. No real surprises there. Wants to get the longbows out nice and early to defend with if he needs to. It will come down to whether the Japanese will put some pressure. With the Japanese opting for a second town centre, that pressure will be a little bit delayed than what it could be. The question is, where does he place that second town centre? There could be a nice spot here. I've got to say, 3 little deer. And also the boar and a woodline and gold. This could be a really nice spot for him. Not too far away either. We shall see. And it is going to be, of course, the Cura storehouse, placed in proximity to the forge. So he won't get a full set of farms there, especially with the cliff. But it does mean he will get some wood income once the farms are populated around it. Looks like Divine opting for a second town centre himself, going out to stone. No real surprises there. It seems to be the way he plays a lot of his English play. Sending some villagers out there now as we speak. The scout just keeping an eye on things, and he will spot that second town centre play, possibly even a third. We've seen Divine do it quite often. The great thing about the English, of course, is they get double arrow slits, so it does mean they can play a very condensed economy and get away with a lot of greed. Something the English could do quite well on this map with. The second town centre for Divine, they do tend to play it quite close to home and risk averse, especially if they're being very greedy. So I'll be surprised if he does venture out into the deer camp and the boar here. Probably unlikely, probably more likely to go a bit closer to home. Quite possibly on the gold veins, just to get that protected, right? Because, of course, you've only got 2 at home, and if you're going to give up map control and not get the gold in the middle, Better make sure you get it secured. Looks like Catchy Corvin is going to be doing something very similar, opting to place the town centre relatively close back home. But we'll protect that gold vein that he has there. I could commonly see villagers being pulled out to the farms that do spawn for free, but can be a bit of a risky business when the council hall is just about to go up. If he does start to get some longbowmen out. Of course, we'll take some time to get there though. Especially with the focus on stone and wood needed for that second town centre from the English. The second town centre goes up really quickly for the Japanese, of course. The ability to mine stone but also get gold at the same time. Really coming in clutch for that early second town centre. And there it is, the second town centre for the English placed right next door to the primary one. So he's not giving up any room for him to be attacked in the main base. It looks like Corvinus might be opting for a fast castle behind this, because take a look at how many villages got on gold. That's a lot. In fact, we forgot to keep it on that. There we are, 11 villages on gold. That's a heavy amount, I've got to say. He's going to go for the baby wheelbarrow, I like to call it. The second version of it. But having to match like for like, it's an interesting concept. Now, the one thing that Japanese can do quite well is get the Yorishiro inside those forges, get some free gold that way. Passively as well, but it does feel like it might be a bit of a race to the castle age for the Japanese, and maybe look to get some of those relics secured as well. Could take advantage of the farms, of course. Now, that little baby wheelbarrow upgrade will make the villagers on berries gather a lot faster. So I think the Japanese can do fast castle quite well. And it's often something they can do straight fast castles sometimes, but against the English and the way DFP plays, he has to make sure he gets that second town centre just to match the villager count. It's going to be a third town centre really for Divine. You see him do this time and time again. The question is whether Corvinus has a response to this or not. I'd like to see, I mean, possibly Onimusha could do quite well. The bonus damage against heavy armoured units and the mobility of that unit could be quite nice for the Japanese, a unique unit for them. Could be a unique solution for Corvinus against the English. Really heavy on gold, actually, Corvinus. Kind of lagging behind on the food count he needs. Minimal villages on wood for now. Doesn't really need it, of course, got the free farms. At least for now, he won't need it. Speaking of farms, they're starting to pop out here for DFP. Now, he does tend to like getting at least 2 full patches around the mill. So that's 8 farms around each mill. 16 in total. Quite heavy on gold as you expect as well. But Corvinus will get to that castle edge relatively soon. The question is, what does he do with it? Will he be able to pump out some military and put on some pressure? He's going to need to, because once this English economy gets online, the food income really skyrockets with the farms. In fact, we'll take a look at it now. A decent amount coming in. He's still getting the farms now, so it will take some time before that really shows up on the numbers. A relatively slow start to the game for the both players. Trying to match like for like. It could be quite nice for Divine just to get a bit of a palisade wall here on the west side. That wood line to the edge of the map. It would offer him some protection. And then connecting it all up. It will be the floating gate landmark. No real surprises there. But getting those free Yorishiro. It's getting really heavy on gold, Corvinus. Placing down a double stable. So it's going to be getting mounted samurai just for that mobility, that movement speed as well. And they can do pretty decent against man-at-arms, of course. As long as they can keep the numbers up. That's that Divine getting more farms now as we speak. It's going to be getting much more than 8 on each one. Well, more than 16. We go for a third patch as well. They're great for the farming economy for the Japanese. He will be getting the Daimyo Mana upgrade, so we'll be increasing that harvest rate from farms by 25%, but also giving an additional villager. There we go, comes in on in. And village counts essentially identical at this point. Divine, though, edging a little bit with that third town centre, as you'd expect, but of course the Japanese did get the second town centre a little bit earlier than the English, so it wasn't too far behind on that regard. It's going to get a farmhouse at the back as well. Nice back deer to be able to harvest and gather food from. Now being in the castle age, we should be expecting him to get some of those relics relatively soon once he does get the Yorishiro deposited. Let's just take a look at where he is putting them, as we expected. Is in the forge, and is getting a Shinto shrine, just getting ready for those relics to be picked up. Well, I have a saying about these sorts of games, whilst it can be pretty slow to get going, once it does, it really starts to heat up. He's going to go up with the White Tower to the Castle Age. No real surprises there. We'll offer him a lot of protection. It's something he kind of needs, especially with the map control he's given away, and the pressure that he kind of invites himself with this kind of build. But at a nice spot, it's going to be very difficult for the Japanese to push this. It's going to need a lot of siege. Double stable is running now. And that Castle Age in for the English will help him match, get some of those relics if he can. But obviously with a couple of mounted samurai dotted around the map, it'll be very difficult for the English to get those relics. The White Tower can actually start to make some units. Possibly starting to see some crossbows, yeah. So it's going to go for a bit more of a defensive play. Here come the barracks though, so expecting to see the man-at-arms upgrade that the English tend to love getting. The first relic coming in now for the Japanese. Is relatively heavy on stone here, Corvinus, so could be looking to upgrade the town centre even further. Of course, the Japanese don't get keeps until the Imperial Age, so that's likely what the stone will be for. Mounted Samurai going a little bit too close for comfort, being peppered for arrows, and yeah, might go down. No, just about gets away with it. But very low health. Keeping a Mounted Samurai on the relics. It should be the case that Corvinus should get the lion's share of them. Whether it's something the English mind too much, I'm not so sure. Obviously not ideal giving away the relics, but trade-offs have to be made. The trade-off is the ability to boom here with a lot of farms, a lot of gold. Will he have enough gold to make enough army then to push out into the middle? That is the question. Now, DFP starting to pull ahead on the villagers as you'd expect, but it does take some time for the extra town centre to really pay dividends. So 2 town centres for the Japanese has been pretty effective up to now, at least keeping up with the economy. So the Japanese might be opting for the Imperial Age pretty soon as well. Although as I say that, a lot more production buildings being built. That possibly suggests otherwise, but he's hoarding a bit of food at the moment, Corvinus. Two more relics coming in. That's going to really help in that gold income passively as well. Especially with another couple of forges popping out. Each Yorishiro inside a forge will give him an additional 75 gold. Plus the relics. It's going to be a decent amount of gold coming in. Mounted Samurai trying to get on top of those crossbows, but good crossbow numbers should take care of that with ease. Looking to wall up on the east side as well and play that kind of greedy approach. Now, he probably won't get this relic in the end. Has to back away with the Shinto priest, and looks like maybe Divine might secure one relic after all. A crazy farming economy. Take a look at that. 1,700 food per minute coming in now. It took some time to get there, but once he does, the farming economy is something else for the English. Now, the Daimyo Palace in play for the Japanese. The farming won't be too far behind. Of course, now we're talking 50% enhancement on the gather rate. Looks like he's going to need another Shinto shrine. So should get about up to 4 of those relics here, Corvinus. That'll be nice for the mid to late game if it gets there. Probably somewhat negates the enclosures upgrade that the English can get. Of course, it comes down to population efficiency, and so any passive income you can get is always welcome in Age of Empires, especially when you get to the late game, which we might get in this situation. Corvinus, though, breaking through on the right side. Didn't quite get the walls up in the end, but obviously the crossbows should push this back. Horsemen being added in for Corvinus to try and counter those crossbows. But in good numbers, the crossbows will hold. Especially with a couple of spearmen there, too. Baron, thank you for the raid. I appreciate it, my dude. Hope you had a good stream, man. I've been thinking about playing Beyond a Reason, actually, recently. Never got around to it recently, but thank you. Yeah, this is not robot-on-robot violence today. It's just the English versus the Japanese instead. It does have a couple of Onabagation there, adding a little bit of depth to that fight, although not much depth because they do go pretty quickly, just not enough numbers. Looks like maybe now Divine might send a villager here just to wall this up, make sure he's nice, safe and secure. But take a look at the food income, almost double for the English. The farming economy is so strong, almost 2,000 odd per minute. And the villager lead's starting to build up. This is where it becomes a little bit more tricky for Corvinus. Does have the Shogunate Castle upgrade, so 75% extra harvest rate on these farms. But ultimately, the English economy, he's going to be able to start spamming out man-at-arms. He's got double barracks, does have the ability to produce from the White Tower. And also quite possibly from the Berkshire Palace, which is probably going to be coming in imminently with that food income. And he's also got a large army. A good standing army for the Japanese as well. Looking to get a town centre in the middle of the map, just to secure up the gold, which makes a lot of sense. But the big thing for Corvinus is, of course, he has invested a lot into army, which his economy hasn't been able to keep up in terms of the speed of food gathering that the English have. Although, having said that, Corvinus now is reaching that 2,000 mark as well. Primarily because of the Shogunate Castle. It's one of the only civilizations that you feel can match the farming prowess of the English. And it's looking to be a decent spot for him. Going to get the Berkshire Palace near the front golds. So we'll have some measure of security of gold income for the foreseeable future, at least. With that big 8,000 pile of gold there. We're going to get the sacred sites. Must not forget that as a possible win condition. Can be an option. Bear in mind, Corvinus has actually snatched off that one relic in that time. So a bit of a cheeky steal there. Berkshire Palace garrisoned inside, going to be pushing away the Japanese army. At this point, the Japanese will struggle to do anything up against that Berkshire Palace. Might have to go the long way around on the west side or the east side around it. Either that, or get to the Imperial Age. And could opt for the Ozutsu. That could be a nice way to stop this Berkshire Palace, but it's going to need plenty of them. It takes time. And the concern for the Japanese is time's not on their hands, because give it another 5-10 minutes and, well, DFP and the English will start pumping out those man-at-arms. Heavily armoured, with armoured clad, no doubt. Might be a bit too much for the Onabagation. The issue about the Onabagation is that they are light melee infantry units, so it feels like they're more of a support role in this army. Either that, or it could look to raid quite heavily. The only thing about raiding is obviously it's very difficult to raid the English base when you've got 3 town centres and White Tower. You've got to try something to harm that farming economy. If he can take out the mills, take out some villagers, could be his way back into the game. He is 15 villagers behind. Tanegashima Gunsmith is the landmark of choice for the Japanese. Again, no real surprises in terms of choice of landmarks. Going to be breaking through on the west side, and it will be pretty quick to get through the palisades. Double of the sacred sites have been activated, so the timer has begun. It's ticking, it's talking. Corvinus getting to that Imperial Age now, and there is the enclosures tech for the English, although that doesn't really stand up too well on these farms for now, because those farms have been vacated. The Japanese pushing in a little bit, but not enough really to dive in. That's a strong army from DFP. Again, there's all important upgrades, and both of them are, in fact. It's going to be the elite upgrade for the man-at-arms. No real surprises there. Starting to pile on the blacksmith upgrades as well. The one good thing for the Japanese is if he can keep up the pressure here, Corvinus, he could potentially try and just ebb down that timer. Sitting at 8.5 minutes. Maybe he can get a keep or two. Looking to stonewall this west side. There is a timer involved here, so things do have to push out at some point. Also gets a Shogunate Castle on the forward town centre. Kind of acts as a keep in itself. It's such a nice upgrade actually to have. Not so much just for the farming, but also because, of course, adds in additional arrow slits. He's starting to push out now, though. Something that Corvinus needs to be careful about. Got plenty of stone in the bank, so probably expecting to see a castle or two. Gonna get a nice bit of upgrade in there. The melee units, also adding in Oda tactics. And one option is to really brute force his way through with melee infantry units and try and burn things down. Got plenty of barracks to do that with. Something that's quite lovely about the Japanese in this stage of the game is when they do start pumping out units, they can really start to spam them out, and it can be a bit overwhelming for enemies. Even with the defensive capabilities of the English, it can be overcome. 7 minutes on the timer. Divine playing it patiently though. Military Academy comes in, so talking about spamming units, the English could be able to do so themselves as well. The first bombard arrives on the field. Corvinus coming through the west side and looking to just assure up the location in the middle. This is where things become heated a little bit. Both players looking to draw into the middle of the map and gather the precious gold that they will need. Bear in mind the gold back at home is starting to dry up. Only 800 odd in that gold vein back at home. It does have enclosures, of course, but matching that, the Japanese will have the Yorishiro and also plenty of those relics. As you can see, take a look at the forges there. 4 of them garrisoned inside. They do have the Yorishiro. Japanese moving out. Looking to maybe collapse on that bombard, but plenty of army there. Mostly man-at-arms. A couple of hand cannons sprinkled in with crossbows and behind. On a Bagation, just increasing that surface area to attack from. The question is, will it be enough? The Shogunate Castle getting involved as well, which is definitely going to help, but it feels like the English army looking a little bit strong. But the swarm of the Japanese units, the Honor Bagation getting so much value, and he's looking to start to swarm and maybe take out one of those bombards or two. And he's starting to wrap around. The Berkshire Palace firing on all cylinders, but I don't think it's going to be enough. And look at the army coming in from the back. The Japanese, their army is pumping out on the forward production. And the speed at which they come out, it's overwhelming. And he might look to even torch down the Berkshire Palace before too long. Does have a couple of Zutsu on the back line working on the Berkshire Palace. On a Bagation, starting to really tank on those man-at-arms. This is becoming a bit of a problem for DFP. He doesn't have the military numbers and he's starting to be overwhelmed. He might need to fall back from this position, but it's not really what he wants. He's going to run out of gold if he does. 2 bombards still remain, couple of springles as well, but the Azutsu is what's really hurting. They're getting good value on the Berkshire Palace, still plenty of HP on it, more than half remains. But that's not going to last too long, especially as the Azutsu keep on pumping on. And this is an issue, the numbers, the sheer numbers for the Japanese army is becoming overwhelming. 82 military units, the Berkshire Palace does go down. Repairs come up, but it's a bit too late, and almost all of a sudden, Corvinus has timed this so well. He's got 2 sacred sites as well, 4.5 minutes on that timer. As that Divine struggling to mass up the military, keeping them alive, has become an issue. Up to 30 military numbers versus 75. Man-at-arms haven't been enough. It looks like the Honor Bagation got so much value. The Azutsu getting good splash damage as well, and he's not able to hold his position. Divine, he boomed away, but it looks like he might be tapping out soon. It's going to be hard to hold on from here. Losing that forward position, losing the Berkshire Palace could possibly be the first domino effect. He's making a move on to Corvinus now and might be getting full control of the gold. Back at home, he has run out of gold here, Divine. He's getting half the amount of gold that the Japanese are at this point. The Japanese have got so much reserves of gold. Both players struggling for food at this point, spamming out so many units. The Azutsu still alive and kicking. Got decent units of meat shield here. The Japanese samurai, they are tanking. Man-at-arms are coming in from the English. Might actually get wraparound on the Azutsu. Corvinus needs to keep that alive if he can. The massive Azutsu doesn't want to lose that. Village coming out to repair the Berkshire Palace. Those could be villages going down to 95. He's having to sacrifice a few villagers to try and keep the Berkshire Palace up, or at least keep it building up. But he's not really able to at this point. All of a sudden, the numbers for Corvinus going down to 50 odd military. Divine, half of that, but he's getting the map control back in the middle, at least for now. But 3 minutes till that sacred site timer. It's been ticking all that way, and Divine hasn't been able to deactivate any of it. And it could come down to that being the way that Corvinus wins this one. We'll have to see. DFP still trying to make a move through the middle. Has a couple of hand cannoneers. Marine Lord, thank you for the raid. Hope you had a good stream, my dude. And congratulations on this show match I was watching earlier. Welcome, everyone. Well played, Marine Lord. Thank you. That's a lot of barracks. Corvinus needs to keep up the pressure, though, if he can. Double the military. And almost, yeah, it's got a good villager lead at this point. Divine has managed to push back a little bit. He's managed to hold for now. Berkshire Palace going back up once again. But with 2 sacred sites, Corvinus is in a good spot. He just needs to defend these if he can. 2 hand cannons being sent now. Corvinus, will he react to this in time? Will it be the way that he wins the game or not? Will he focus on that? I mean, it's an option, right? 2 minutes, it's worth challenging it. Looks like he feels the same. Sending over the Honor Bagation with their movement speed. It should get there in time. Only 2 hand cannoneers after all. Keeping army on the front lines as well. Berkshire Palace not quite up yet. 2 bombards. A bit exposed. And he will keep the sacred site for now. Still 2 minutes. Divine has to do something about it. Almost walled himself out on the west side. Although, does he have army there? No, he doesn't. He's going to have to make a play for the sacred site. It's his only option to stay in the game. But what that might do, might allow Corvinus to get a wraparound. Honor Bagation on the right side. Samurai on the west side. Looking to take down the villagers building the Berkshire Palace. Down to 95 villagers. Azutsu working on the Berkshire Palace. Berkshire Palace won't go up. And that's a huge deal. He's dragging the army away from the sacred sites. Divine trying to hold on to this Berkshire Palace location, but it won't happen. Berkshire Palace goes down for the 2nd time. And I think the Samurai just win this straight up. Honor Bagation coming from the right side. He will get the wraparound. The siege will be completely engulfed, and the 2 bombards behind the walls. It doesn't seem like there's any way for that to stay alive now. Still Azutsu in good numbers. Hand cannoneers on the front lines, which is not really where they want to be. They want to be behind the meat shield if they can, but the man-at-arms trying to deal with the Honor Bagation. The attack speed for the Honor Bagation getting so much value. Azutsu with the splash damage. 1 bombard still working away for the English, but he's being overswarmed. The timer is down to 1 minute, and it doesn't seem like Divine has a way to decap the sacred site. He's trying to push forward through the middle. But there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Divine taps out. The Japanese, they conquer Golden Pit. It was a great game of Age of Empires 4, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you're watching on YouTube later, make sure you give the video a thumbs up. Take care, and see you next time.